The whispers started before the dinner even began. Cameras hadn't even started rolling when rumors started flying. Jackie's on edge tonight. But no one could have predicted the sheer chaos that would unfold at what was supposed to be a celebration for Brandi's new spice line. From the outside, it looked like a classy Vegas pop-up. Clinking glasses, soft lighting, a curated guest list. But behind the scenes, emotions were boiling hotter than the food. And when Chantel's name came up, oh, that was the match on dry kindling got just minutes into the evening. Jackie, the always unpredictable, always explosive queen of basketball wives, stormed out. Like, literally left her seat, brushed past the cameras, and vanished into the Vegas night. And now, fans are asking, what really happened between Jackie and Chantel? Why did Brandi's big night spiral into silent stares, awkward air kisses, and near walkouts? Did someone push the wrong button, or was this dinner doomed from the start? Tonight, we're diving deep into the drama that has the internet in shambles. Buckle up, because this isn't just reality TV. This is reality warfare, and the tension between these ladies. Chili, it's thicker than the sauce Brandi was trying to serve. It started off like any other celebratory night in the world of high-profile women trying to keep it cute for the cameras. Brandi had been working behind the scenes for months, quietly building her new spice line, and tonight was supposed to be her moment to shine. She had pulled together a glamorous pop-up dinner in Vegas, handpicked every detail, and invited the ladies in what she thought would be a smooth, classy event. But the moment the women walked through the door, you could feel the tension sitting at the table like an uninvited guest. Jackie came in late, sunglasses on, lips tight, barely speaking. She hugged Brandi quickly, nodded at Evelyn, and gave a half smile that didn't reach her eyes. Everyone noticed it. Even Brandi, who had been riding high off her big launch energy, seemed to pause for a second when she saw Jackie's face. But she brushed it off, poured herself a glass of wine, and kept the show moving. Guests mingled. The food was served, and for a brief moment, it seemed like the night might actually stay calm. Until Chantel's name slipped into conversation. It started off casually. Someone joked about mother-daughter dinners, and Evelyn, never one to hold her tongue, chimed in with a little too much edge. She looked across the table at Jackie and said, "You don't think you owed Chantel an apology after yesterday?" The air went still. Forks paused midair. Even the background music seemed to fade out for a second. Jackie blinked, tilted her head, and replied, "No, me and my daughter are fine." But her voice was clipped, sharp, like a knife wrapped in silk. Everyone could feel the shift. She was lying, and they all knew it. What most people didn't see on screen was what happened at the dating event the day before. Chantel had shown up unexpectedly, and Evelyn had tried to create space for a heart-to-heart between mother and daughter. But Jackie wasn't having it. She had shut down, refused to engage, and eventually walked out of her own event, leaving Chantel sitting there stunned. It was embarrassing. For Chantel, for Evelyn, and honestly, for everyone watching. So when Evelyn brought it up again at Brandi's dinner, it wasn't about stirring the pot. It was about unfinished business. But Jackie doesn't do confrontation well. Not the emotional kind, anyway. She deflects, she denies, she walks away. So when Evelyn pressed again, saying no, "Y'all not fine?" Jackie's jaw clenched. Hand gripped the wine glass so tight, people were low-key worried it might shatter. She stood up, said something under her breath that no mic caught, and walked straight out the door. Not a word to Brandi, not a glance back, nothing. Just a storm in heels, leaving a room full of confused, stunned, and slightly entertained women. Brandi was crushed. This was her night, her moment. Her chance to bring everyone together and prove she could hold her own as a businesswoman and host. And now Jackie had walked out without even tasting the food. People were whispering, trying to keep the energy light, but the damage was done. The spotlight had shifted, and it was no longer on the spices or the menu or even Brandi. It was on The empty chair where Jackie had been sitting, and the lingering question in everyone's mind, what the hell is really going on between her and Chantel? Outside, Jackie wasn't even answering her phone. Chantel tried to call her. Nothing. Evelyn texted, left on read. It wasn't just about drama anymore. People were genuinely worried. Jackie had always been unpredictable, but this was different. She looked hurt. Not angry, not defensive, hurt, and that hit differently. It made the whole situation heavier, more real. Behind all the glam and the shade and the camera lights, there was clearly something broken that neither Jackie nor Chantel seemed ready to fix. Chantel, who had been hesitant to even come to the HS. Oh, who had been hesitant? Like, look at this. And we all know I've been exploring. No, and we all know I've been exploring that. As we are been with clearly by no will. We have complored them to it with my new sens. We have complored secondis. FAG, you say Chantal. We have sentais. God, we have find me. We karai sai kawi hes at we hat a wall like dinner in the first place ended up arriving late, not even realizing her mom had already left. When she walked in and Brandi greeted her with that tense smile, she knew something was off. People gave her side glances, some with sympathy, some with straight-up judgment. But Chantal kept it cute, gave out hugs, and sat down like she didn't feel the weight of the room closing in on her. But then came the whispers. Denise leaned into someone and said she had overheard what went down the day before. Someone else brought up how Jackie always walks out when things get too real. And in the middle of all this quiet noise, Chantal sat there, trying to keep her composure, knowing her mom had once again chosen to leave instead of listen. When the appetizers came out, no one was even focused on the food anymore. The table was tense, like everyone was waiting for something else to blow up. Evelyn tried to shift the mood by talking about the menu, but even she couldn't fake the vibe that had settled in. Brandi was doing her best to keep smiling, nodding, pouring drinks, playing hostess. But you could tell sparkle had dimmed. Her night was slipping away, and then, just when it seemed like things might settle into awkward small talk, Denise walked in late, loud and clearly ready to stir something. She greeted everyone, except Chantal. Like literally skipped over her like she didn't exist. It was shady, intentional, and loud without saying a word. Chantal clocked it immediately. And so did everyone else. Chantel stayed quiet at first, probably trying not to make a scene. But it was obvious she was irritated. She turned to Brandi and said, "Thanks for inviting me." But the way she said it, laced with sarcasm, frustration, maybe even regret. Brandi gave her a soft look and tried to whisper something comforting, but Chantal was already shutting down. Her walls went up. She sat straighter, looked at her phone, and went silent. Meanwhile, Denise was chatting it up with everyone, like she hadn't just come in and added gas to the fire. She complimented the decor, asked about the wine, even mentioned trivia games like it was a girls' night in and not a dinner party on the edge of emotional collapse. And when someone finally asked about Jackie, Denise shrugged and said something about her always being dramatic, then changed the subject. No empathy, no pause, just vibes. The vibe was off, way off. Brandi knew it. Evelyn knew it. Even the camera crew knew it. But nobody wanted to be the first to say it out loud. So they kept pretending, kept sipping, kept smiling, kept tiptoeing around the obvious. But the silence was loud. And underneath it all, one thing was clear. Jackie walking out wasn't just about Chantal. It was about years of built-up tension, unresolved pain, and the kind of family wounds that don't heal just because someone says they're fine. Chantal sat there trying to stay calm, but you could see it in her eyes. The frustration, the disappointment, the embarrassment. The one person she had hoped to avoid tonight, her mother, had already fled the scene. And the second person she didn't want to deal with, Denise, had just walked in like she owned the room. It was like the whole night had turned into Some twisted setup, and Chantal was the punchline. Brandi noticed the shift in Chantal's body language immediately. She leaned in, lowered her voice, and asked if she was okay. Chantel forced a smile and nodded, but it didn't fool anyone. Evelyn, always the one to push for truth whether people liked it or not, finally spoke up. She turned toward Chantal and said, "We need to talk about what happened yesterday." The entire table froze again. Chantal looked down at her napkin, then slowly back up. She took a deep breath and said, "I came to that dating event thinking maybe my mom was finally ready to have a real conversation. But she wasn't. She walked out." Again, it was hard to hear. It was even harder to watch Chantal admit it with that kind of pain in her voice. You could tell she wasn't trying to cause drama. She was just tired. Tired of pretending, tired of being disappointed, tired of loving someone who couldn't even stay in the room long enough to hear her speak. Denise rolled her eyes. She didn't say anything, but her body language screamed judgment. And that's when Chantal snapped. Not loud, not dramatic, just sharp enough for the whole table to feel it. "You don't have to like me, but don't act like you know anything about what me and my mom go through." Denise raised her eyebrows and responded, "All I'm saying is, maybe if you didn't always come in here with an attitude, things wouldn't go left so fast." Evelyn leaned back in her chair and whispered, "Oh Lord, here we go." Brandi, trying to save what was left of her night, jumped in and said, "This is supposed to be a celebration, y'all. Can we please just eat, enjoy the food, and not do this right now?" But it was too late. The energy had shifted again, and this time there was no saving it. The rest of the women at the table started doing that thing people do when things get uncomfortable. Fiddling with silverware, looking at their phones, pretending to read the menu. Chantal stood up quietly, said she needed some air, and walked out to the balcony. Evelyn followed her a few minutes later, leaving Brandi inside to deal with the awkward silence, and a visibly smug Denise stood outside. The Vegas night air was thick, but quiet, and Chantal leaned on the railing like she was trying to hold herself together. Evelyn joined her, handed her a glass of wine, and said softly, "I know it's hard." Chantal nodded, then said, "She doesn't even try. I keep showing up, and she keeps walking away. At what point do I stop trying?" Evelyn didn't have an answer. She just stood there, shoulder to shoulder with Chantal, letting her feel whatever she needed to feel without forcing some fake resolution. Because real hurt doesn't get fixed in one dinner, especially not this one. Back inside, Brandi was doing everything she could to keep things from completely falling apart. She started handing out her spice samples, smiling through the pain, trying to keep the spotlight on her brand instead of the emotional explosion that had hijacked her big night. Some of the ladies played along, asking questions about the ingredients, taking pictures for social media, complimenting the packaging. But it all felt forced. The elephant in the room had grown so big it was practically sitting at the table with them, and then came the moment that pushed everything over the edge. Someone, no one's quite sure who, brought up a rumor that Jackie had been overheard telling someone backstage at the dating event that she didn't trust Chantal around certain people in the group. It was vague, messy, and loaded. And when Denise casually mentioned it out loud, it hit the table like a grenade. Someone asked who Jackie was referring to, and Denise shrugged and said, "Probably Jennifer, or maybe Evelyn, or maybe Shantel herself. I don't know, I just know she said it." Chantal had just walked back in at that exact moment, and the look on her face was enough to suck all the air out of the room. She looked around at everyone, then locked eyes with Denise. What did she say exactly? Denise smiled, sweet but cold, and said, "I'm just repeating what I heard. Maybe ask your mama." That was the last straw. Chantal wasn't about to let another slick comment slide. She stepped closer to Denise and said, "You love talking about me, but never to me. What's that about?" Denise laughed, clearly enjoying the rising tension, and replied, "Girl, you want attention so bad. Is that what this is?" Chantal didn't raise her voice. She didn't throw anything. She just said you're not worth it and turned to Brandi and apologized. I didn't mean to bring all this into your event. Really came here to support you. Brandi looked heartbroken because she believed her. She could see that Chantel wasn't here to cause chaos. The chaos had followed her. It's the same way it always seemed to follow Jackie. Brandi gave her a hug and told her she appreciated her showing up. But the damage was done. Guests were already whispering, some texting, others packing up early. What was supposed to be a celebration had turned into a public unraveling of one of the most complicated relationships on the show later that night. Backstage footage would surface of Jackie alone in her hotel suite, pacing, refusing to answer. Calls and muttering about how she's tired of always being painted as the bad guy. She said things like, "They don't know what I've sacrificed." She's ungrateful, always has been. The pain was real, but so was the silence between her and Chantel. And the truth is, both of them were hurting. Both of them were angry. And neither of them knew how to fix it without tearing each other apart. In the process, Evelyn, in a confessional-style interview later that week, said something that stuck with fans. Jackie loves Chantel, no doubt about it, but she's scared. Scared of being vulnerable, scared of being wrong. And sometimes, fear makes people run. And that's exactly what she did. Again, Chantel's confessional aired shortly after. And in it, she said, "I didn't need an apology. I just needed her to stay. Stay in the room. Stay in the conversation. Stay in my life." That clip alone had fans crying, tweeting, questioning everything they thought they knew about the bond between mothers and daughters on reality TV. And while Brandi tried to pick up the pieces of her night, wrapping up the event with a forced toast and tired smile, the weight of the evening lingered. This wasn't just another episode of drama. This was real pain, real history, and real consequences. Even the most loyal fans were left wondering if Jackie and Chantel could ever come back from this latest fallout. Or if this was the final crack in a foundation that had already been slowly falling apart. The aftermath of the dinner was nothing short of emotional wreckage. By the time most of the ladies had left, Brandi stood alone in the dining area, staring at the untouched plates and half-finished glasses of wine like they held answers to the disaster that had just unfolded. What was supposed to be her proudest moments had been completely overshadowed by Jackie's sudden exit, Chantel's silent heartbreak, and Denise's barely concealed smirks. Cameras were still rolling, but no one had the energy to pretend anymore. The night was over. The damage had already been done. The internet didn't wait long to erupt. Clips of Jackie storming out, Chantel calling out Denise, and Evelyn playing peacekeeper went viral within hours. Fans were shocked, disappointed, and in some corners of social media, downright furious. People flooded timelines with comments like, "Why does Jackie always run from real conversations?" And Chantel deserves so much better than this emotional neglect. The hashtags were trending. People were dissecting every glance, every whisper, every look exchanged across that dinner table. But in the quiet that followed, something unexpected happened. Chantel posted a story, no words, just a black screen with a white heart. Simple, but heavy. It was like her way of saying she was done speaking, done explaining, done trying to fix something that never wanted to be healed in the first place. Jackie, on the other hand, went silent. No posts, no tweets, just silence. And in that silence, the speculation only grew louder. Behind the scenes, production sources claimed Jackie had locked herself in her room that night, refusing to do exit interviews, refusing to even speak to the producers. Apparently, she'd said something like, "If they want to paint me as the villain, go ahead. I'm done explaining myself." But it wasn't just defiance in her voice. There was something else there too, something softer, maybe even guilt. People who knew Jackie said this wasn't her lashing out. This was her shutting down. What made it worse was that Brandi had tried. She had called Jackie later that night, left her a voicemail just asking if she was okay. Not about the dinner, not about the cameras, just she was okay. Jackie never called back. And that silence said more than any outburst could have. Brandi later told Evelyn that she felt like her dinner had become a battleground for other people's wars. "I brought them here to break bread," she said. Instead, they broke each other the next morning. Shantel sat down with Evelyn for breakfast, both of them still in their hotel robes. Barely awake, but clearly still processing the night before, Evelyn didn't hold back. She told Chantal, "I think your mom's hurting more than she lets on." But Chantal was done making excuses. She said, "I've spent years waiting for her to meet me halfway. Okay? At what point do I stop waiting and start protecting my own peace?" Evelyn nodded. It was one of those rare moments of agreement, where no one had to argue or defend, just sit in the truth and let it be. Meanwhile, Denise was telling a very different version of events. She had brunch with Jennifer and a few others from the group, and apparently told them that Chantal was the one causing all the drama. She said things like, Jackie wouldn't be acting like this if Chantal wasn't always so defensive. That girl brings tension everywhere she goes. And Jennifer, who's never been close to Chantal, nodded along like it made perfect sense. But fans online weren't buying it. They were calling Denise out left and right for being messy, for fanning flames, for inserting herself into pain she clearly didn't understand. What shocked everyone even more was when Chantel's father, someone who rarely comments on show-related drama, posted a cryptic tweet. It read, "Sometimes silence isn't peace, survival." Fans immediately assumed it was about the dinner. Some praised him for subtly supporting Chantel. Others criticized him for getting involved. Either way, it added fuel to the already raging fire. Jackie's sister, who had been quiet for months, broke her silence too. She posted an old picture of Jackie and Chantal with the caption, "These two love each other more than anyone knows." Sometimes love just gets lost in the noise. Again, vague, but pointed. It was clear the family was feeling the weight of what had happened. This wasn't just reality TV drama anymore. It was real family fractures playing out in front of millions, while Brandi tried to move forward with her spice launch, doing press, promoting on Instagram, even sending out free PR kits. Every comment section she opened was filled with people asking about Jackie and Chantel. Are they speaking? Did Jackie ever apologize? Will they go to therapy? Some people even started tagging therapists and suggesting mother-daughter healing retreats. It was wild, but it also showed how invested the audience had become in the emotional core of the show. And then came the surprise. Chantel agreed to a one-on-one sit-down interview. It wasn't for drama, she said. It was for closure. Wanted people to hear her side uninterrupted. No yelling, no edits, no misquotes. In the interview, she talked about growing up, always trying to earn her mom's approval. She said, "Every time I felt like we were making progress, she'd back away. It's like the closer I get, the more scared she becomes." She talked about how much she loved her mom, even now. But she also said, "Love without effort just becomes pain." That line hit hard. People quoted it, reposted it, made it into graphics. Even some of the other cast members shared it to their stories. It was a raw, honest moment that reminded everyone these women, for all the glam and glitter, were still human. But even as Chantal opened up, Jackie stayed silent. People close to her said she was embarrassed. She felt like she'd been ambushed, not just by Evelyn, but by the whole group. She thought Brandi's dinner was going to be about support, celebration, not confrontation. And when Chantal walked in, she saw it as a setup. Whether that was true or not didn't matter. That's how Jackie felt. And feelings, once wounded, don't just disappear because people want a happy ending. There were whispers of a possible mediation episode. Producers trying to get Jackie and Chantal to sit down, maybe with a therapist or mediator present. But no one could confirm if it would actually happen. Chantal, for her part, said she was open to it, but only if her mother came ready to actually talk, not walk away. Fans were split. Some begged for the reunion. Others said it was time to let go, because sometimes the most heartbreaking reality isn't that people fall out. It's that they don't always come back together. In the days that followed, the fallout only got messier. Tabloids picked up the story, twisting it into exaggerated headlines like "Jackie abandons daughter again" or "Brandi's dinner ends in betrayal and heartbreak." Some sites claimed that Chantel had confronted Jackie in the parking lot after the event, which didn't actually happen, but the public didn't care. The narrative had already taken on a life of its own. Fans started making timelines of Jackie and Chantel's relationship, highs and lows, pointing out every breakdown, every walkout, every awkward on-camera exchange they could dig up. One clip from a previous season began circulating again, showing Chantel tearing up as she told Jackie, "I don't need a perfect mom. I just need a present one." Viewers watched it now with fresh eyes, realizing how long the cracks had been there. It wasn't a new fracture, it was an old wound that had been reopened. Publicly, painfully, and with cameras capturing every second of it. Meanwhile, Jackie remained silent. No statements, no social media posts, nothing but those closest to her were speaking for her, and their words were mixed. Some said Jackie felt set up by production, that she was blindsided when Chantel showed up at the dinner after the blow-up at the dating event. Others said Jackie had been hoping Brandi's event would be a reset, a break from drama, and that when Chantel walked in, it felt like betrayal. A few even claimed Jackie had considered quitting the show altogether, that the emotional toll had finally caught up to her. Brandi, still trying to keep her launch afloat, filmed a small follow-up segment where she addressed the chaos with grace. She said, "My dinner didn't go how I planned, but that doesn't mean the night was a failure. Sometimes, when things fall apart, that's when the truth comes out. And if that's what happened that night, then maybe it needed to." Her words resonated with viewers, especially those who had seen the toll it had taken on her. Brandi hadn't asked for any of it, but she handled it the best she could, holding space for both sides without choosing one. Evelyn, on the other hand, wasn't holding back. In her confessional, she admitted she'd pushed Jackie's buttons, but said she had no regrets. "I didn't bring it up to embarrass her. I brought it up because silence is the reason so many of us are still walking around with pain we never dealt with." She went on to say that Jackie needed to face the truth, not run from it. But not everyone agreed. Some fans thought Evelyn had gone too far, that calling Jackie out in front of the entire group was cruel, not courageous. And then, out of nowhere, Jackie posted, not a long caption, not a full statement, just a single image, an old photo of her and Chantel laughing in a kitchen, probably years ago. No filters, no hashtags, just raw. The comments flooded in within seconds. People begged for reconciliation. Some told her to apologize. Others told her to stand her ground. But the one thing everyone seemed to agree on was that the love between Jackie and Chantel was still there, buried, bruised, but not gone. Chantel saw the post. She didn't like it. She didn't comment. But she did post a quote of her own later that night. It read, "It's not the love that hurts. It's the way it's withheld." Again, no explanation, just emotion. Fans went wild. Some were convinced it meant she was still open to reconciling. Others said it was her way of closing the chapter for good. But either way, it had people talking. Denise, meanwhile, was basking in the attention. She posted behind-the-scenes selfies from the dinner, including one where she's fake laughing with Jennifer. The caption read, "When you show up cute and leave iconic." It was shady, tone-deaf, and totally on brand. People dragged her in. The comments calling her out for inserting herself into a mother-daughter conflict that had nothing to do with her. Some accused her of using Chantel's pain for clout. Honestly, they weren't wrong. Denise hadn't added anything meaningful to the situation, just commentary and chaos. But the real turning point came when Chantel finally reached out privately. Not to Jackie, not yet, but to Brandi. She sent a long message thanking her for the invite, apologizing again for how the night unfolded, and saying she hoped her presence hadn't ruined things. Brandi responded with grace, telling Chantel she was proud of her for showing up at all. She told her that room was full of pressure and you walked in with more strength than people realize. It was a small exchange, but it meant something. It showed that in the middle of all the hurt, there were still people trying to extend kindness. Still, the tension between Jackie and Chantel loomed large. Producers began working behind the scenes to arrange a one-on-one sit-down for a future episode, but it wasn't easy. Jackie had conditions. She didn't want a room full of people. She didn't want to be ambushed. She didn't want Evelyn or Denise anywhere near it. Chantel, too, had her hesitations. She didn't want another scene. She didn't want more cameras capturing her pain. But she agreed, as long as she got to speak uninterrupted. In a private production meeting, a staffer reportedly said, "This is the most real tension we've had all season, not because of the volume, but because of the silence." And they were right. This wasn't the kind of drama that explodes and fades. This was the kind that lingers, that haunts, that makes people stop and reflect on their own relationships, mothers and daughters, pride and silence, love and distance. Fans continued to speculate about what might happen next. Would Jackie show up for the sit-down? Would Chantel walk away for good? Was there any chance of healing, or had the wounds gone too deep? One fan tweeted, "This ain't just reality TV anymore. This is heartbreak in real time." And that was the part that hit hardest. Beneath all the shade, the side eyes, the walkouts, and the whispers, this was a story about a daughter who kept showing up and a mother who didn't know how to stay. A story about a celebration turned confrontation. About a dinner that exposed more than it fed. And about two women who clearly loved each other, even if they couldn't find the words to say it. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But somewhere deep down, they both knew the door wasn't fully closed. Just quietly, painfully left ajar. The days turned into weeks. And the tension between Jackie and Chantel remained the center of conversation, both on the show and off. Cast members were being asked about it in interviews. Fans were analyzing body language in every clip. And even podcast hosts who normally stuck to celebrity gossip were now digging into the deeper emotional layers of their relationship. It was no longer just a storyline, it had become a cultural moment. People weren't just watching for entertainment anymore. They were relating. They were projecting. They were remembering their own family wounds and wondering if some gaps can ever truly be bridged. Production finally confirmed that a private sit-down had been scheduled. Just Jackie, Chantel, and a moderator. No cameras, at least not yet. The idea was to give them a safe space to talk without pressure, without an audience, without the weight of expectations. But even that came with complications. Jackie reportedly backed out twice before finally agreeing to come. She told producers she didn't want to cry on camera, didn't want to be seen as weak. Chantel, for her part, said she didn't want to be gaslit or silenced again. Both women were protecting themselves, and neither seemed fully convinced that peace was even possible. Brandi, who had unintentionally become the emotional glue of this entire arc, kept herself at a respectful distance. But she made it known to both women that she supported them. She checked in with Chantel via text, kept her posted on Spiceline updates, and even mailed her a handwritten thank you note. Chantel posted a picture of the card with a simple caption. "Some people don't have to say much to show you they care." It was a quiet dig, and it landed. Meanwhile, Evelyn continued speaking her truth unapologetically. In a separate interview, she said, "I didn't mean to start a war at that dinner. But I also wasn't going to sit there and pretend everything was fine. Jackie knows she's got walls. I just didn't expect her to climb over them and run." It was honest, blunt, and true to who Evelyn has always been, unfiltered and unafraid. Fans were split. Some called her brave for holding Jackie accountable. Others said she lacked empathy. But either way, she was standing firm. Jackie, when she finally did speak, chose her moment carefully. She released a written statement on her Instagram. No flashy graphics, just a simple text post that read, "Sometimes silence is survival. I'm not perfect. I've made mistakes. But I've also been hurt, and that part gets ignored. Chantel will always be my daughter. I just need time to heal too." The comments blew up. Some people praised her vulnerability. Others accused her of deflecting again. But one comment stood out. It was from Chantel. No emojis, no anger, just 2 words. "I hear you." It was the first real sign that a crack of understanding might be forming between them. In the next group scene filmed for the show, Jackie was noticeably absent. The women gathered at a spa day hosted by Jennifer, and the energy was light, but Brandi looked tired. She was still carrying the weight of that dinner, still feeling the disappointment of watching her celebration dissolve into emotional chaos. When someone brought up Chantel, Brandi didn't speak much. She just said, "I really hope they figure it out, because I don't think either of them is okay right now." But the one who did speak and surprised everyone was Denise. In a rare moment of clarity, she admitted that maybe she had come in a little too hot at the dinner. "Maybe I should have just kept my mouth shut and let them talk." Evelyn gave her a side eye, but nodded slowly, as if to say, "Yeah, maybe." It wasn't an apology, not really. But it was the closest thing to accountability that anyone had seen from Denise in a long time, and it landed better than expected. As word spread about Jackie and Chantel's upcoming sit-down, fans were on edge. People made countdown posts. Others speculated on what would be said, who would cry, and whether or not it would end in another walkout. But when it finally happened behind closed doors, with no audience, no glam squads, and no producers hovering, the result wasn't what anyone expected. There were no screaming matches, no dramatic exits. It's just 2 people sitting across from each other, both exhausted. According to a producer who was present, Jackie spoke first. She said she didn't know how to be the kind of mom Chantel wanted because no one had ever shown her how. She said she ran because it was easier than facing the fear of failing her own daughter. Chantel, through tears, told her that she never wanted perfection. She just wanted presence. Even if it was messy, even if it was hard. Just being there would have meant everything. They didn't hug, they didn't solve everything. But they agreed to try, to meet up again, maybe without cameras, maybe just as mother and daughter. Fans didn't get to see it live. There were no viral clips. But somehow, that made it feel more real, more sacred. A few days later, Brandi posted a picture of her spice line with a caption that subtly nodded to everything that had happened. Some meals don't go as planned, but the flavors linger. People knew what she meant, and they respected her even more for the way she had carried herself throughout it all. Chantel remained quiet, posting only occasionally, often quotes or nature photos. Jackie posted more frequently, throwbacks, affirmations, videos of her traveling. It was like both women were trying to find their way back to themselves before they tried to find their way back to each other. The season finale teased the possibility of a public reunion, but nothing was confirmed. Producers knew they had gold. Real emotion, real conflict, real stakes. But they also knew they had to tread carefully. Because this wasn't just TV anymore. It was family, was fragile, and the wrong move could destroy what little progress had been made. For fans, it was bittersweet. They wanted closure. They wanted healing. But most of all, they wanted Jackie and Chantel to figure it out. Not for the cameras, but for each other. Because no matter how much drama had unfolded, how many tears had been shed, or how many dinners had ended in silence, one truth remained clear. There was still love there. And as long as love remained, maybe, just maybe, there was still hope. What happened at Brandi's dinner wasn't just another reality TV moment. It was a mirror. A mirror for every mother-daughter relationship strained by silence, pride, and the inability to say what matters before it's too late. Jackie walking out wasn't just about drama, it was about pain. It was about years of unresolved tension and two people struggling to understand each other from opposite sides of a broken bond. And Chantel showing up again and again despite being let down. That hit deep for a lot of people as fans. We watch these moments unfold and sometimes forget that behind the glitz and cameras are real women with real wounds. Brandi's big night turned into something else entirely. Not the launch of a spice line, but the exposure of emotional truths too raw to ignore. And now we're all left wondering, is this the beginning of healing for Jackie and Chantel? Or just another painful chapter in a story with no resolution? We want to hear from you. You think Jackie will finally open up and stay in the room? Will Chantel keep showing up? Or will she protect her peace and walk away? Is there still hope for their relationship, or has too much damage been done? Let us know what you think in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video if you felt the emotion. Subscribe for more breaking drama updates, and tap that bell so you never miss the next chapter. Because if there's one thing we've learned, it's that on Basketball Wives, the quiet moments are sometimes the loudest of all.